Okay, we're on week number 3. We're at lesson number 1. The very first lesson, week number 1, lesson number 1 is the standing guillotine choke. Both, from when you're stopping the takedown, standing, and then when they actually push you all the way down to the ground, you get a guillotine on the ground. And here we go. So she comes in, he stops her at his shoulders, wraps the guillotine down. Now go back for me for St. Brandon. When you stop that takedown, the arm, I want your arms stiff. Stiff armed, butt back, like that, yeah, just like that. Now, as she continues to progress forward, that shoulder goes into her shoulder and the hand drops. And I see that right hand he's got underneath there. That hand is going to drop all the way down, extending it. So drop that right hand all the way. Now you see that there? Now what's happening here is the elbow wants to be directly under the chin, okay? Just like that. The hands are grasped like this. The elbow is going to be up kind of like that, okay? Now, what he does, he brings his feet in front of her feet and simply looks up. Well, what he does not do is come up onto his balls or his feet or his toes or try to lift up that way. It lifts from the head just like that. Okay, good. And that's the standing guillotine. Now, we set up the on the ground guillotine the same way. She comes in, he stiff arms her shoulders and puts his butt back. Good. She continues to go forward, so he drops the elbow down, wraps the guillotine. He squats down and pushes himself away, wraps the guard across, and there it is, just like that. Now, one of the key elements of this is sitting back. When you squat down, you're going to sit back. Do that one more time for me, please. Stiff arm, butt goes back. He drops the shoulder in, and he gets in front of her feet. He sits down and pushes himself away, locks the guard right around her waist there, and there's the guillotine choke. Okay, that's the guillotine choke. Okay, so the next technique, we're going to take the guillotine defense. It's a standing technique. It's pretty standard, it's pretty basic and simple. Just pay attention to the details. It can be a very detailed technique, even though it's pretty much a standard defense against a guillotine. Okay, here we go. Sensei Melanie comes in to get a takedown. She gets blocked. Brandon pulls this in. Now what happens, she's going to take her right hand over top and her hand on the hip. Now, that's creating a hook here. This is keeping her from getting pulled too much on top. She wants to kind of have that hand kind of like that, like there, like a hook. This hand here, making sure if he does lift her up, it's there. And once he lifts her up, what she's going to do is she's going to hop over to the side. See how she hopped over there to the side? Now, right here, her head is going to help facilitate this move. Her head is going to start pushing this direction there, like that. Now, at the same time, her knee bumps in. And she goes into this wide base here. So she gets her base out. He's still got the choke on her, so what she's going to do is she's going to switch her hips a little bit. Make room for that hand to come through and grab the wrist. All right. Now she kind of switches her hips again and puts that hand across there and puts her hand on his shoulder while the forearm is across the throat. She switches her hips again and she rocks the weight forward and pulls the hand up and apart. Okay, one more time if you don't mind. He stops it, puts the guillotine on her. She wraps her around, gets a hook on the hand and the leg, cuts around, she bumps the leg with the knee, drives with the head, and comes down, and she puts the posts out. Now she needs to grab the arm, switching the hips to make room, switch the hips, hand over, and transfers the weight onto the throat, just like that. Okay, that's the guillotine defense from standing. Okay, we are in week number 3, class number 2. This is lesson 1. The first lesson is a distraction to a double leg takedown. Train hard. Okay, we're back. We're working on the double leg takedown. Double leg takedown is a lot more complicated than people think because we have something called, what I call anyway, a fault line. The fault line exists between the heels. It exists from here to here. Anything outside this fault line, like here, is going to help facilitate a takedown. Inside it, not as much. But if I cross those heels, I'm going to be able to break the balance more effectively. Okay? So that goes to say also over here as well. Anything behind the heels is past the fault line. Okay? So in the double leg takedown, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to distract. So she's going to give him a clap right in front of his face. That's just going to get that person blinking and moving. Now, her foot is going past the fault line. Now, notice that her hands are on the knees, back of the knees. That's where they want to be. Her head, in this case, is to the side. Now, she is looking up and not down. Looking up and not down. There's a very important reason for that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Well, let's just address it now. I want her looking up so it makes it harder for him to grab the guillotine on it. Okay? And what I mean by that, not that it exposes the neck, because it does expose the neck more, but it drives more this way. Okay? And only about 1% of us in the population are going to understand a guillotine choke properly. So we keep that head up. If you're looking at the floor, you're doing it wrong. Now what she does is she pushes that shoulder in and drives him down to the ground just like that. Okay, let's do that one more time, please. Steps past the fault line and drives into the person, just like that. Good. Now the other way to doing it, in case you are facing one of the 1%ers, when I say 1%ers, I mean people that actually study martial arts, or specifically jiu-jitsu. The percentage becomes even less if we're talking about 1% of the population that study martial arts. Can you imagine the percentage that actually studies jiu-jitsu? It's probably pretty small. But anyway, she comes in. This time her face goes directly into the center. She still steps past the fault line. She still drives down just like that. Okay? All right. That is the double leg takedown with the distraction. Okay, here we go. This is the single leg stack pass. Okay, here we are. She's in the guard. First thing she does is she's got to have posture that's really straight up and down, almost like meditation posture. Okay. The next thing she's going to do, she's going to put her hands on the diaphragm, the navel area, close to the hara and the solar plexus there. So she's going to put one leg in the center of the bottom. See how it goes right to the center there? The other leg is going to go out at a diagonal angle, right like that. It's creating space. See that? Okay. Now, her hands are going to push away, and her back is going to cat stretch, like that, like in yoga. That right hand is going to go underneath the legs. The other leg arm is going inside his thigh. When the arms move, when they're in the guard position, they move at the same time in the same direction. She doesn't want to pull one arm back and leave one arm in. That can create a triangle choke and other submissions, arm bars, and all kinds of stuff. Okay, now she's going to take that shoulder, that leg, and put it on her shoulder. Her arm's going all the way across. Now she's going to drive her weight into his knee and into his nose. And then when she thinks he's had enough, she's going to let it out and go right into side control position. There you go. One more time. This is a great technique, but you got to have good posture. Okay. All right, so she goes in the center of the bottom, puts the leg back. She extends her body and cat stretches. One arm goes through, hooks, goes on her shoulder, goes to his shoulder, stacks the weight all the way on him, and passes it. That's called a stack pass. That's a single leg stack pass. There you go. Now let's go to the double leg. Remember I just said just a couple minutes ago that you want to bring both arms in at the same time. If you happen to get both arms underneath the legs, this is the perfect opportunity to do the double leg guard pass. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, here we are with the double leg guard pass. We're going to set it up with the same cat stretch kind of guard opener. So he goes good posture, center. He pries the leg back. He pushes on. This time both arms go underneath. Now look how he's got the waist there. He's going to pull her to him a little bit. That, and then he reaches up. He puts the weight on. He stacks her weight. And right over the top and into the guard, or into the side control. Good, let's do that one more time. Perfect. All right. Okay, so he breaks the guard with the cat stretch guard pass. Boom. Both arms they went simultaneously, pulled into her, and he stacks the weight and pushes down. One more time, this time get that, stack the weight a little bit more for me. You don't want to be too soon on this move. You want to make him suffer a little bit. Leg goes back. Cat stretch. Both arms in. Now look. Pulls in. He pushes that weight. Drives in, and passes it. Back into side control. Okay, good. That is the double leg stack pass. Okay, now we're going to do the headlock defense. Simply, Brandon gets Sensei Melody in a headlock. He tries to punch her. She's going to put a guard up there. And see that hole right there that her hand came through? Go back for me and rewind that. So when he goes to punch, she stops him. She puts that hand through and pins that close to his chest just like that. Good. Now she's going to grab that hand and she's going to pin that to her chest and look all the way up to the sky. And then she's going to bend me up. See how she opened her foot, bend down like that, reach over. And good, right there. So her head goes to the junction. Now look how her elbow is right there underneath the chin. That's what you want right there. You don't want to crush someone's trachea, especially a guy who has a big Adam's apple. You could actually cause serious harm and even death. So we want to avoid that. The best way to do that is by having your elbow underneath the jaw. This is going to pinch the carotid arteries up to the side and facilitate the choke. Heads to the junction, so he doesn't tries to headbutt her or something, he's just gonna get nothing there, okay? All right, let's do that all over again. She gets in a headlock, she tries to get punched. She puts that hand right through there and pushes it back, traps it inside there, traps her hand down onto her chest. Looks up, kind of steps back a little bit, ducks underneath, and now right there, freeze right there. This is an arm bar here, okay? You see this? That is what's happening right there. That's a shoulder lock. It's going to create pain. Now she's going to reach right over the head, pull back, and into the junction there. And there she's in the inline choke, ready to go. Okay, good. That is the headlock defense standing. Back again. I'm impressed. Here you are again. This time we are headlock against the wall. After you diligently practiced all the other techniques, you're here at the headlock against the wall. I was just saying that this move is not fancy. It's not pretty. Probably won't see it in any kind of movie, but it's very efficient and very effective. It's a headlock against the wall. Okay, Brandon's got Melanie against the wall here. First thing she's going to do, she's going to lean against the wall. That'll be her friend. See how look how she's got that her hand right here. That's perfect. The other hand is using to get base against the wall. Now, since she's leaning against the wall, what she's going to do is push her hips over and come across his leg. That's going to help her pivot over. Now, she's going to take that hand that's on the wall and grab his wrist that's got in the headlock. Here's the key move. We're going to push the hips in, drive them in, thrust them in, and now duck under. Good. And when I'm saying thrusting in, I mean, you want to drive your hips straight forward. So her hips right there is driving in this way with all of her might. Okay, let's try that one more time from this thing. I'll do it from here. He is up against the wall, leaning her in there. This happens sometimes, so you're up against a car or whatever. She pushes off of it, uses it to come across, hooks the leg, good, uses her hips, grabs the hand, peels it up, and there it is. Of course, we'll finish off the strikes and knees and elbows and even chokes or whatever else we need to do from that position. But that is headlock defense against the wall. Okay, now we're talking about a headlock escape from the ground. Someone's actually got you on the ground. Now, here's the thing. You don't want them to have your arm and your head at the same time. So we want to make sure that we're pulling that arm down first thing, and then going into the move. So here it is. This is the headlock defense against being on the ground. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so here we are on the ground. She's got him in a headlock, leaning in. Most people think this is they're winning the fight here. I'm not sure why people still do this, but they do. So what Brandon's going to want to do is, first off, he makes sure that both hands are free if he can. So he's going to scoot. He's going to shrimp out and shrimp out until he can get on his belly. Then he gets on his knees. Now his right hand is going to go on her right shoulder. Go back up. That shoulder right there. Then it peels it over to his knee. He cinches up on her there. He can first create a base. There it is. Yeah, first thing he does is he's going to create a base right there because she's going to still be trying to pull him over. So right now she's getting a little desperate here in this fight, but she still has the headlock, so she feels like she still has control. So a lot of times people will try to still pull you over, so you want to create that base. Once the fight's over there, now he can put that hand in, put the left hand in her hip, bring the left foot over into what's called the technical mount. Now he creates another base. Good. Now the right hand goes into the jawline. Good. Left hand goes on there, and he leans towards me and puts the pressure up and over, just like that. Now that he's in this position, he's going to take this hand here and put it on the ground, creating a base, and bring the foot around for an armbar. Sit back just like that. Good. One more time. We'll stand up here and make this a little better angle. So she gets him in a headlock. He turns into her. He shrimps away until he gets on his belly. Hand there, pulls that in over the top. He creates a base. There you go. Good. Now, once the struggle's over, he can put the hand in to the hip and then bring the foot into the hip. Good. Technical mount, create a base. Always base there, because believe me, the fight they'll be trying to pull you over and everything. Now you can create the frame once the fight is kind of ceased a little bit. He leans forward and up, boom. Now he can put that hand down, prepare for the arm bar, over the top, just like that. Good. That is the escape from the headlock from the ground.